Hello everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to Coaching Think Talk. I am Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines, and this episode is Coaching for a Healthy Mind Space. So this coaching conversation that we have is for individuals who are experiencing uncertainty and some overwhelm in their lives because of unhealthy thinking and negative mindsets that they have acquired throughout their lives. And it is my deep desire to help them break free from these thinking patterns through the renewing of their minds so that they can live fully and free as they journey God's calling and purposes for their lives. So thank you for joining me live this afternoon. Please leave your digital footprint by letting me know where you are watching me from, and feel free to tag your family and friends who you think will be interested to hear about our conversation today. And you can also share this video so that more people can hear and may benefit with the topic that I will be sharing this afternoon. And also, if you happen to catch this on replay, please key in hashtag replay. I would like to get in touch with you even after this episode is already done. So I would know that you watch it on replay if you type that. And if you happen to see this video by chance as you were browsing through Facebook, I am currently streaming via the Facebook page of Life Coach Philippines. This is our Facebook page. And this is also live, concurrently live in YouTube through the Coach A I Connect channel. And speaking of Coach A I Connect channel, today is a very special day for Life Coach Philippines because we are celebrating the birthday of Master Coach A today. So happy birthday, Master Coach. May you have a blessed and wonderful day today. And for those of you who are probably wondering if you're new to Life Coach Philippines, Master Coach is the founder and creator of Life Coach Philippines and also co-actively co-create coaching program. This program is actually the certifying course for those who want to be part of Life Coach Philippines roster of certified coaches. And she has other projects than that. She's also the owner of D-Cup in Pasig, Capitolio. And she has other side projects. It's too many to mention for my talk today. But again, from the bottom of my heart, happy birthday, Master Coach A. We are so blessed, and I'm so personally glad to have you in my life. Oh, drama. But okay, now going back, what I was saying, yes, so we're live in Facebook page, we're also live in YouTube. So if you are new to our account, I would like to encourage you to please support what we are doing as a movement by liking our Facebook page and also subscribing to our YouTube channels. And if you would like to know of other upcoming events and activities that Life Coach Philippines have, or if you are interested to hear other videos like this, please turn on the notifications of our channel so that you won't miss any of these things. And please allow me to introduce myself. I am Coach Maan Lamorena. I am a certified life coach, and I am a happy wife, a mother to a 3-year-old toddler. I am also a dog lover with 7 dogs. And I used to be part of the corporate world in Manila for 10 years before I switched freelance when I moved here to Mindanao. I am currently in General Santos, and I am also a triathlete and a certified football and futsal coach. So as we go through our conversation this afternoon, I would like to encourage you to please share your thoughts or your insights, any realizations you may have as you listen, and share it on your timeline through the hashtags Pack My Bag Moment, hashtag Coaching Think Talk, and hashtag A Healthy Mind Space. So for the past, I think today is the 11th week. So for the past 10 weeks, we have been talking about a healthy mind space. So the question usually is, what is a healthy mind space? And simply put, mind space is our mind. It's the human faculty in which are ascribed our thoughts, our feelings, our decisions, where we make our decisions. So it's that space we have in our mind. And why do we need to have a healthy mind space. So I'd like to emphasize that a healthy mind space is as essential as a healthy physical space. Because you see, my comparison would always be just as in any physical space that is cluttered, chaotic, and messy. So just imagine this, probably a room, your bedroom, which is cluttered. And it would, when the space is cluttered, it would always be a challenge for someone to try to find things that they are looking for because of all the mess that's around. And in the same way that that is a challenge when we are in a cluttered physical space, when we also have clutter and mess in our mind space, it becomes challenging for us as well to think clearly. It's difficult for us to process our thoughts better, and it also hinders us from making better decisions. So an uncluttered and unhealthy mind space will, an uncluttered and healthy, mind space will allow us room to be more mindful. It will allow us to be more positive, to be more aware, and also it brings excitement to us as we look forward and see what's ahead. So because of that, the truth is our mind is not just simply a playground for creative ideas, nor is it just what do you call this, vision board for our goals and agendas. Our mind is also a battlefield, and many of these battles are first won or lost in our mind. the, you see, the battle that we have in our mind is the most important battle we will face, because it's a fight that we are engaged in 24 hours a day, 365 days in a year. It's a battle that's intense, it's vicious, and it's never ending. As long as you think, you are in a battle. And it is a battle that goes unnoticed for most of the times. One that many of us are not even aware we are fighting for most of the time. And I say that this is the most important battle we could ever have right now, because the thoughts that come to our mind will determine how we will feel. It will also determine how we will think and act in the present. What we think shapes who we are and eventually how we will live. Christian pastor Craig Groeschel once said that our lives are always moving in the direction of our strongest thoughts. Because you see, whatever gets in your mind eventually gets you. And it all sounds so easy, right? Change our thoughts, change our lives. Sort of like a sitcom tagline. But we all know it's not as simple as we think it is. That it's not just simply willing our minds to change, or our thoughts to change. Because the key there to renewing our minds is not just to simply stop the flow of negative thoughts and unhealthy mindsets. How we wish it was that easy. How I wish it was that easy. But to renew our minds, we must be actively engaging in this battle. We don't just stop the influx of bad thoughts. Otherwise, we will continue to find other things to fill our mind with. To renew our minds, we must be intentional with what we think, and we have to be purposeful with replacing it with the truth. So today, I want to share 7 beliefs that are hindering us from fighting this battle and renewing our minds. Because if we ever hope to be victorious in this area of our lives, if we ever hope of defeating the cycle of negative thoughts and emotions that paralyze us, then we must be very determined to stop living by these thoughts that I will share today, and be resolute in going the opposite way so that we will be transformed. So buckle up, and here's our belief number 1. So the first belief that is hindering us is that we wait for an external action or miracle to change our minds. Most of the time, we refuse to take an action that will lead to the renewing our minds because we are waiting. We are simply waiting for an external action, an external miracle that will force us to change. The truth of the matter is, most of those actions that we wait for will never come until we get rid of the chaos in our minds. It's actually the other way around that would help us. Renewing of the mind will never work if we believe the excuse. This is just an example. I think the reason why my mind is so negative is because my life is so hard. But have you ever thought that maybe the reason your life is so hard is because your mind is so negative? You cannot take intentional actions in your life regularly if your mind is a mess. Hence, the sum of that life that is so hard. But do not get me wrong. Okay, I'd like to clarify this. Of course, external action and miracles can help push us to change. They do. But they alone do not change our minds without our humility, without our willingness, and definitely without our desire to make these changes. We have to take the first step. We have to act now. We have to decide now that what we want to do is to renew our minds. And as we take these steps, we take intentional, purposeful steps, we will eventually see the gradual change that is happening. Not just in how we view the things around us, but most especially with how we, allow these thoughts to be processed in our minds. This is the second lie that we must let go of, really. When we say that I cannot control my thoughts, they control me. And, usually it's because, when we say that we cannot control it, that it's just okay to give in. And personally, I believe that this is an excuse. Most people, use to stop making changes in their lives. Especially those who really do not want to go through the sometimes hard and painful refining process of change. But see, there are more than 6,000 thoughts that enter our mind in a day. So you can just imagine that's a lot. And while many of them are random and unimportant, there are some thoughts that we welcome and entertain that can wreak a total havoc in our mind space. These usually are the negative ones, the bad ones, the critical ones. These thoughts, among all those 6,000 and more thoughts that we have, these negative ones are the ones that we let stay rent free in our minds. That's just how we are usually one. So the way we can counter this is to exercise self-awareness. Yes, the thoughts are bad. Yes, they are there. And yes, they can be very fearful. We also have to acknowledge these thoughts. But being aware of these triggers puts us in a position to be in charge. We don't let the thoughts control us. We are aware that they trigger toxic ideas, so we become more mindful and intentional with what we consume. And also the thoughts that we allow to linger for a longer time. As I've said, sometimes you would get these negative thoughts, and that's okay. You think for a moment, try to shoot away. But sometimes, we have to be more intentional in choosing, wait, is this thought serving me well? Is this a thought that I should welcome and allow to stay for a longer time? Those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves whenever we encounter these unwelcome thoughts that we have. An example for this would be sometimes we feel unlovable, right? There are moments when we feel that nobody loves me. I'm not even sure that's true. But if that's your truth for that moment, then sure, go ahead, feel that, process that thought. But do you have to let it define you? Do you have to let it control how you will act and how you will see? You see, there's a difference. When we allow our thoughts to dictate our actions, then that's where the problem comes in. And I think the Bible is very wise in commanding us to think about these things in Philippians 4:8. There's a verse there that said that we must be intentional in thinking the good things, the sanctified things. On His law, He meditates day and night. When you look at the whole verses in the Bible, it is pretty clear that in these verses, we are expected to choose our thoughts, that we are intentional in choosing and fighting, even for the thoughts that we have, that we allow to enter our mind, and to not let our thoughts always be chosen by something else, that to not let our thoughts be chosen by our current situation, current emotion, but to be very intentional in having our thoughts life under our control. You don't have to control your thoughts, Dan Millman said. You just have to stop letting them control. That's one thing that we can look into. Now, the third belief that we, usually keep that hinders us from winning the war in our minds is that sometimes we don't realize that what we feed our mind with becomes a mindset. For us, we just say that, oh, it's just something that I thought of. It's just something that I read. Sure. But a mindset is impossible to change without changing what your mind is filled with. You see, typically when we hear the truth about renewing of the mind, we get so busy trying to change our mind. We focus too much on trying to change the mindset. And we quickly learn that it is not an easy task, because the only way that we can change our mindset is by controlling our emotions. And the opposite of that thought that we allowed and we entertained. And once the conscious mind is filled with the overflow, of course, it slips into the subconscious mind. And what is in the mind will eventually translate into our emotions and eventually into our actions. Just like, just imagine, we can't expect to have healthy bodies by eating a steady diet of junk food, right? Of course, you cannot expect to be strong, to be healthy, if all you eat would be those instant pancit canton that's really so good. I know some of you can relate, but you can't expect that, because you don't know the nutrients. You don't have nutrients. You don't have enough vitamins and minerals that you need to make your bones, your muscles, everything in your body stronger. So in the same way, we cannot expect to have healthy minds by consuming a steady diet of negativity. We have to be intentional with what we consume. And for this third belief, let us just remember that a mindset is what controls you, but it is the mind that is what we control. So while the mindset controls us, we can control our mind by the things that we consume, by the things that we allow into it, by the things that we think even. And for the fourth belief, it's usually when we act on what we feel and not on what we believe. And I personally, as a woman, is very guilty of this. Once in a while, some people get a feeling that isn't real. Let's just imagine that this is a feeling that isn't real. They may think it's real. It may feel very real. And they may even truly believe that it's real. But it's just a feeling. At the end of the day, it's just a feeling. And feelings are fleeting. And it is wise to remember that as important as emotions are, feelings are not facts. Feelings are not facts. Yes, many things may produce an emotional response in us. Some are in the moment, other triggers are in the past, and many even are about uncertainty in the future. But we should not believe everything that we feel because, again, feelings are not facts. For example, just because I feel useless, that I feel hopeless, I feel unlovable and worthless doesn't mean that I am. I may believe really emotions can be tricky because it can feel. But again, it's a subjective experience. So when we are starting to act on what we feel and not on what we believe, we have to take a pause and recognize feelings for what they are. That feelings are not facts, not the truth, not edicts that we have to really obey all the time. Instead, when making decisions and actions, let us hold on to the truth. Let us hold on to the facts. Let us hold on to what we believe in, and let us not get swayed by our. Um, the next thing the next belief that hinders us from winning the war in our minds is that usually, whenever we start to think negative thoughts, we assist negative thoughts. And not just that, we also resist positive thoughts. So, the thing is, positive thoughts are not going to stay. They need to be assisted. Negative thoughts are not going to leave. They need to be resisted. But most of us do it the other way around. I myself included. And we must assist the good thoughts. Whether it's a word of God or an encouragement from others, a success, an achievement, a compliment, we must assist it by making room for it in our hearts and in our minds. And we must resist the evil thoughts of the enemy or whoever is criticizing you, or even your own inner critic, that usually chatters in your mind, by taking them captive and bringing them into submission. No. Yes, well, you cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest in your hair. Bad thoughts come. Yes, they do. But they do not have to stay if we speak against them with the truth of what we believe in, of what we stand upon. And if we assist the positive thoughts and just resist the negative ones. Okay, for our sixth belief, this one. This is very personal for me because this is usually my default mode. We want to shortcut the process. It is going to take time to see change in our minds. It's not instant. And just imagine if we go back to the story of God's creation, um, there's probably a reason why God took 6 days to create the world instead of just one day. There's a process. He allowed the creation of the world to undergo a process. And I think he also wanted to show us how to go through the process of change. However, we humans would like to do and have everything in an instant. Instant food, right? The fast food, the microwave, everything instant coffee, all those things. And in the same way we treat change, we want it immediately. We want to see change immediately. We want overnight transformations. That's why when you check YouTube videos, you see all these overnight transformations or makeover, 24-hour makeover. These are the videos that get a lot of views because it feeds to the idea of people that, hey, I can change in just a short period of time. And we fall for the lie that since many things can be done in a short period of time, we can also change in just an instant without going through the usual process. But you see, just like the caterpillar that has to go through the process of metamorphosis, anything lesser or more than the required days it has to stay in the cocoon, the caterpillar could end up dying instead of transforming it into the beautiful butterfly it was meant to be. That's the same way with the change we want in our lives. That's the same way that we want in renewing our minds. Let us not shortcut the process. Instead, let us, don't try to rush things that take time to grow. Instead, let us allow it to grow. Let us allow ourselves to go through the growing process. Allow ourselves to feel it, to understand it. That's the only way that we can have lasting and transformational change and renewing of minds. And last but not the least, the seventh thought that hinders us from winning the battle in our minds is that, we don't celebrate small victories. And in relation to number 6, we also tend to overlook the small wins and just be on the lookout for big things. That, we try to shortcut the process. So we're just really looking for the big change, the big deal. The small ones, oh, they don't matter. The small ones, oh, it's okay. Nothing to be happy about. So that when we only experience the small wins and improvements, we think that we are not achieving anything. We think that our minds are not being renewed in the way that we hope it to be. But we fail to forget that the small wins, as they stack up, it it accumulates and it becomes something bigger. It becomes a big victory in the end. We tend to take for granted the small wins. But really, that is so far from the truth. And I mean, we think that it doesn't need to be celebrated because, it's just a small thing anyway. But when we do that, we only add to number 5, that when we assist the negative thoughts and resist the positive ones. But there is great appreciation to be done, even for the small steps that we take. I mean, going back to the story of creation, each day something great was done by God. Of course, He's God. He's going to do something great. And God would end the day by celebrating what was done. He would always say, and it is good, right? Instead of complaining about what still needs to be done, He would say, it is good. So you see, He celebrates it. I mean, He created it. He's God, but still He created it. He did not complain about all the other. He didn't even think of the fall of man. He was just so focused for that day. He was just so happy and celebrating that day, that present moment that he has after he created what was needed to be created that day. On the third day, when there was still so much work to be done, God saw that it was good. God never said much yet was to be done in the story of creation. But if you follow the story, God was celebrating what was complete. Every single day He would celebrate it. And maybe that's something that we can hold on to. That we don't really have to look for the big things that's not in front of us, but to just really be mindful. To be mindful of the small things that are in front of us, that we are achieving, that we are moving towards. It's important for us to celebrate that because improvement. I think it's worthy to note that God never compared the messy process of creation to the beautiful heaven that He was living in. Because that's the thing with us. The enemy or whatever critic we have will always try to mess up the process of our mind renewal by making us compare our progress with someone else. And that gets us. But we are already complete. Sure, there are a lot of things that we can work on. Sometimes, for others, a lot. But even if this is the case, we do not need to compare ourselves to others. If we suddenly find ourselves, seeing or noticing that our neighbor's lawn is greener, then we better start watering our own lawn. We better start making the work, doing the work to make it green, perhaps even greener. But we have to be the best version of ourselves that the world has ever seen. Because God is faithful to finish what He has started, and He is not yet done with us. And that's why, even for the small things, there is a reason to celebrate. There is a reason to, to be happy, to be grateful. The renewing of the mind is not an end. It is a continuous process. Renewing of the mind happens when we celebrate small victories and focus on what God is doing instead of what He is not doing. Take note of what God is doing, what is being done, the present. Renewing of the mind entails us to be mindful, to be appreciative, to think of the present, not towards the future. Of course, the future is there. But the focus now is what is being done here, right at this time. What am I doing? The battle is right now. You are. I am. We all are engaged in this battle right now. And we have to stop thinking that we are not in it. And we have to start acting, deciding. And at the end of the day, there is always something that will fill up our mind, whether it's a positive or it's a negative thought. So we have to be very cautious with how we feel it. It's not just a matter of resisting the unhealthy and negative ones, but it's about truly replacing it with something else, something that is healthy, something that is beneficial, something that is true, and something that will stand the test of time. And it's not an with you, even if you want to just process it. I invite you to have a conversation with me. Allow me to walk with you in your journey. Let's connect and let's see how we can work on those mindsets that are hindering you. Know that help is available, that support is available, and there's always a way out of that never-ending cycle that you are in currently. And with that, I'd also like to invite you to join me in my community. You may follow my Facebook page, that's Coach Maan. And you may also join me in my coaching community, You Renewed. It's actually a coaching community on living full and abundant lives by winning the war within our minds. And I hope to see you there. I hope that I can be able to connect with you one of these days. So once again, my heart to the pattern of this world, but be transformed. And how are you transformed? By the renewing of your mind, that you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So thank you once again, and I hope to see you again next Monday at 2 p.m. for another coaching Think Talk. Do join us for another coaching conversation this afternoon with Coach Tin for Coaching for Relationship. Once again, this is Coach Maan from Life Coach Philippines for Coaching Think Talk. Coaches like us think and talk like this, and this is us from the Philippines. Love, bam, boom. Bye.